everyone, and welcome to Marks for Life podcast, making its return with your hosts, Jimmy and CJ. We rebranded to become all elite in all pop culture, from AEW to Marvel to video games to Netflix and so much more. You name it, we talk.
Oh no, you're good, babe. You grabbing a Bacardi?
Mommy's like, can you grab me 2 Bacardis and a pizza? Can you? Hi, CJ.
And that is our introduction into this week's episode. That is our introduction. Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of Marks for Life podcast. My name is CJ.
And I'm Jimmy, and I don't know what's going on right now. I'm like 50% sure that none of the previous conversation that was recorded at this point was going to be captured on mic. If it is, I'll keep it in. But if it's not,
I really hope it is.
I will do a playback and I will let you know.
Okay.
But anyway, we are starting a podcast.
Yes,
so
we are.
Next episode we are in.
We're going to be talking about. Recently, there was the AEW 2-year anniversary show, so we figured it'd be a really fun retrospect to compare the first episode of AEW Dynamite and compare it to 2 years later, and just look at where the company has gone.
Yeah. Well, even by when it initially even started, as even a joke to get 10,000 people into
with
an
All
arena.
In?
With All In. If you even want to start it there too, you could.
Well, All In was definitely a precursor, but at the same time, All In was
the initial start point of the main people that we're gonna be seeing.
Yes.
Like the Bucks, Omega,
Cody, Penta,
Excalibur. You can even make an argument for Janela and
Hangman.
All those people specifically were at All In. I don't remember how many others, but
there was Britt Baker was at All In.
Oh yeah, Lucha Bros were there too.
Phoenix, yes, Rey Phoenix. Rey Mysterio was also at All In.
Oh yeah.
Funny enough, Bandito was there.
Bandito.
You had Jericho make an appearance as well. You had Matt Cross taking on MJF. You had Flip Gordon. Flip Gordon was there.
Miss Flip.
I completely forgot about him until really talking about this and stuff.
Well, yeah, he had a crush on Brandy, and it never got
anywhere.
Never got anywhere after that.
No, it did not.
And then from that point on was just this long, will they, won't they really launch a wrestling company? And then they did, I think, All In was September of 2018, I'm going to say.
All In? Wait, All In?
All In specifically.
Wasn't it? It was either September. It was Labor Day weekend of 2018. I'm not sure if it was September or if it was August. But it's right in that
it was in that weird where they a year later would have their first real Dynamite, which is
their real first Dynamite was in October.
Oh, okay. So it was a month later. My apologies.
Yes, because you had that whole build up with Jericho and the
No, they had All Out. They had All Out though. That's what it was. All Out. I'm remembering.
There you go.
The good memories starting to come back.
Use your brain.
All Out. The first All Out was in September of 2019. That's right.
Yes. But I think it would be very cool to talk about this change. Like the evolution of it and see where everybody is on here versus
Well, yeah, I think they had hit the runway pretty hot and fast.
Yes.
And then coronavirus happened out of nowhere.
But they never lost momentum as much as you would have thought.
No, they adapted, I think, a lot better than I think WWE. Because WWE was, not to use this in a punning way, but all in on empty arena show. And
they joked about the empty arena shows, too.
Yeah, but So I think the thing that I think made WWE, I think, a little bit worse than AEW was they had a small setting, because I didn't really watch Dynamite at the time though when they first started doing the shows. When I got back into Dynamite was when they started doing the amphitheater back in the summer
Oh, okay,
of
okay.
2020.
Oh, I watched it throughout, and I gotta tell you, like, first having a lot of the wrestlers from the Nightmare Factory, the trainees, being in the crowd, definitely gave it like it kind of brought you back to. Remember when we watched House of Hardcore, and you had those like 40 people just around the ring, just like
Yeah, when
being
you're there in a
so
live event, it felt like watching an indie show. Yeah, I hear it.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's what WWE tried to do at the Performance Center, and it felt off. And I think it's because they forced.
It felt scripted.
Well,
It felt like produced. Let me put it like that.
It was definitely produced, and then WWE came up with the Thunderdome, and I hate to bring up WWE and exclusively AEW.
Well, it's not exclusive, but it's primarily.
Yeah, because you're talking about the contrasting difference between all these other companies, and I think the Thunderdome was a smart idea for WWE specifically because of the high production
I think
that they could have done.
it
I don't
felt
think
more
it-
in theme with WWE.
Yeah, and I don't think it would have worked well.
Well,
with
just look at it
AEW.
this way: WWE, when they had the people around the ring, they had someone booing the Iconics while wearing the Iconics merchandise,
Yeah,
which was captured on television. Meanwhile, AEW, you had Lance Archer almost get into a fight with Big Swole.
yeah, like the fact that they even put the actual wrestlers in the crowd, I think was also like a brilliant idea.
Yes.
Because that's when I started watching, was when they were in the amphitheater and they had the wrestler gala that was usually saved for like the smarky of Smarks fans, and then you'd have some fans because it was Florida, of course.
Yes.
And then I think you had like some of the trainees like around as well, but like it felt like watching an indie show, and then it felt like even the people watching were a part of like the show, and that's when we got like, you know, the like interesting moments like during the summer.
Yes. So let's go into the cards. I'm gonna read through the whole card of AEW of the first episode.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna read through the entire card of the 2-year anniversary special.
Sure.
Okay. So first up, we have Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara. Then you have Hangman Adam Page taking on Pac. MJF taking on Brandon Cutler. You had the AEW Women's Championship for the inaugural champion, Nyla Rose versus Riho. And then you have Kenny Omega and the Bucks taking on Jericho and Santana and Ortiz. 2 years later, we have an 8-man tag battle. The Elite with Adam Cole, AEW World Champion Kenny Omega, and the Bucks taking on American Dragon Bryan Danielson, Impact World Champion Christian Cage, and Jurassic Express Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. You have a TNT title match between Spanish God Sammy Guevara and Bobby Fish. You have wait. You have wait a second. Hold on. Oh, here we go. We have Hikaru Shida taking on Serena Deeb for her 50th win. And you also have the announcement of the TBS women's title, and you have the Casino ladder match: Andrade El Idolo, Jon Moxley, Lance Archer, Matt Hardy, Orange Cassidy, Pac, and Hangman Adam Page is the Joker.
All right, so I do have a couple things. So the
Sure.
first thing, and I feel like this is the most jokey part of it, is that half the people that you cited in that second part, they were all in WWE at the time of the first AEW Dynamite show, which is hilarious to me.
Andrade, Hardy, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Deeb, like it's crazy.
Christian, I think was he was doing
retired.
the ENC. He was doing the ENC podcast at the time, wasn't he?
ENC was done by then, I think. They
Wasn't-
were done like 2018.
Yeah, so like right around that time. And Danielson was, I think.
Danielson was 2019. He was there. He was starting up his feud with Bray Wyatt.
Right.
Christian was already kind of gone. And the fact,
Yeah, but he was like in legend status, and he would like. I feel like they did.
so.
I feel like they did the ENC podcast, or they did that other network show.
ENC podcast was done, but no, it was done right by Dynamite, because I know Edge had to go because Beth Phoenix was commentating Wednesday nights.
Right, because
And
they had the I remember.
And he had to stop because of that, so this way he could watch the kids. I remember that being on the last episode. I'm like, dang, this it was a fun podcast too. And then, of course, Edge returned in
Yeah.
2020. But those cards are so different.
Yeah, it feels really established. And also, I wanted to talk about the TBS championship.
Sure, yeah,
Which-
that's a
well,
huge
to-
thing to talk about.
Well, we'll definitely talk about that in a second. But like, yeah, it's just the fact that like they got these bigger stars. The fact that they kind of they survived the pandemic, which is a added plus, which is good for any
Yes.
business, especially an entertainment one that legitimately got off the ground like a year before the pandemic even started.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's crazy to think that, and even some of the people that were in the first show are still even in the company today. So, and they have more prestigious spots. So,
I can definitely agree with that. You look at Kenny Omega where he was then versus now. Now he's I think he's the longest reigning world champion. Which there's only been 3, but that I like that. I like
well,
how
he was
there's
also
only
belt collecting. He was also, I think, the NJPW.
no.
He was the
He was the Impact World Champion,
Impact, and he was the AAA champion.
Triple A Mega Champion, which he has held since 2019. Believe it or not, like he held
he
that.
had that. He had that before he got the world title. I remember now.
Yes. You look at Sammy Guevara. So before this is the episode where the Inner Circle actually was created on the debut show with Hager's debut, Moxley coming out of the crowd and just actually DDTing Kenny Omega on the glass table. It was Cody Rhodes was in title contention for the world title.
Oh yeah, this is before that. That really, in my opinion, dumb like stipulation where if he lost, he can't go for the AEW world title again. But
I'm gonna say a controversial opinion. So I think, and then I look at the title pictures and I look at where the TNT Championship is. I have to say, I think I personally enjoy the TNT title more than the AEW World title, and I can agree. I think the TNT title is more prestigious than the AEW World Championship.
is that because there's been more champions, or is it just the fact of like how each of the matches have gone per like, compared to each other, like the AEW World Championship and the TNT?
I think a lot of the times I look at this and I think of the matches that I've seen with the AEW World Championship, and while it's great, not really many bad matches, each champion has been excellent. I look at the TNT title, and granted, shorter reigns, but not by much. Not really many short reigns. Also, but all of the reigns have been excellent. You even look at the reign of Brody Lee, who ended up joining the company during this 2-year span, formerly Luke Harper. Brody Lee only had a month-long reign. He got it in the middle of August, and he dropped it in September. He didn't have the title for that long, but a great champion because of, he was he had excellent matches. He was an excellent character. He valued that TNT championship more than the world title. And I think that's the big thing, is people are gunning for the TNT title because they want that title. You hear interviews with Darby and Sammy like, we don't want the world title. We want the TNT title. And I think there's such an emphasis on it. And it's such an emphasis of the younger talent that makes me attracted more to the TNT title.
Yeah, because a lot of them have been like newer talent. I mean, excluding like Rusev and Brody.
Miro, Brody, and Cody. Yes.
But like it definitely seems to be like this is where like the younger talent wants to go to right now, and then when it gets older and they're more like seasoned, is
Yes.
the correct word for that. They'll probably go for the world title after that, and that one's going to be like this is the bare standard of like international wrestling like recognition.
I think the TNT title also, in my opinion, and I hope the TBS championship follows this as well for the women, I think the TNT title personifies the concept of the Forbidden Door.
For those of us who don't know what that means, can you please explain?
So the Forbidden Door is a concept that was used by AEW after Kenny Omega appeared on Impact Wrestling with Don Callis.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially starting to open up the company to different promotions.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, we've seen Kenny appear on Impact, and we've seen Private Party and Christian Cage appear on Impact. We've seen the Good Brothers appear in AEW. We've seen Minoru Suzuki, and we've seen we've seen Hikuleo pop up in AEW. We've seen, and from New Japan, we've seen Moxley and Jericho appear in New Japan. We've seen Finjuice appear from Impact to New Japan to Impact. We've seen Thunder Rosa, an NWA contracted star, appear in AEW if subsequently signed. Serena D becoming the NWA Women's Champion while being signed to AEW. It's kind of reminiscent of the old territory days, but you look at the TNT Championship. You look at the challengers for that. Yuji Nagata, that was a big one that I remembered. Yuji Nagata facing Moxley. The TNT Championship, you have people from, you had Eddie Kingston fight for it. Ricky Starks fight for it. You had a big one that I think Bobby Fish, who was MLW, which is another one. I think the more they open up the TNT Championship, Warhorse, a huge one. Everyone was gunning for Warhorse versus Cody, and we had that match. I think it's so important to look at the TNT title as the Forbidden Door Championship, because you know what I want to see? I want to see, let's say, Sammy Guevara take on Eric Young, or Sammy Guevara take on Magnus, or Sammy Guevara take on Aaron Stevens.
I think it's Aaron Stevens.
Aaron Stevens. Like, I want to see him defend against
God, I haven't heard that Aaron
Juice
name in forever.
Robinson. I feel like the TNT Championship gives us those matches. And I think I want the TBS Championship. Whoever that title holder becomes, personally, I would love it if it was Layla Hirsch. That is who I'm going for. That is my girl. I want her to get it. I love her style of wrestling. I think she'd be an excellent inaugural title holder of the TNT title. Probably going to be Jade Cargill, but whatever. TBS. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But, we look at where AEW Dynamite was. The first episode, they only had one champion. That was Chris Jericho. That episode, they had Riho and Nyla Rose
having a match and then Riho winning.
Yes, becoming AEW Women's Champion. They just announced the brackets for the AEW World Tag Team Championship, and they were building up to the tournament throughout the summer with buys and triple threat tag matches. And then since then, they've added another additional 2 championships, which don't feel like mid-card titles. They feel like very different styles of championships.
They feel, and this is, I think, where I find the appreciation for both of these ones in comparison to other ones from other companies like WWE, Impact, and Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Is that these ones feel important. That it's definitely more cared for than just being like some mid-card where we'll get a good wrestling match out of it. And it feels like almost a main event to watch the TNT one, especially. But when the TBS one really comes into fruition, we'll get a really good main event one feel for that as well.
I think so.
Now, my question is, and I feel like this is a dumb question.
No dumb. There are dumb questions here. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm expecting that the TNT will stay on Rampage and the TBS will stay on Dynamite once that move happens, or has the move happened?
It's going to TBS in January.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure if the TNT Championship will remain on or just Rampage, if it'll be interchangeable. I do think the TBS Championship, at least initially, will be featured prominently on AEW Dynamite to really build up that championship. The TNT Championship, and this is the same with a lot of AEW's titles, already has a kind of an established legacy.
Yeah, it does. But so will we see it on Dynamite?
Probably. I don't.
That's my question, because I don't know. I understand that TBS and TNT are under the same umbrella corporation.
Yes.
And I don't know how they personally feel about it, but I mean,
I think they'll be okay. It's not like a Fox versus USA Network type of thing, or NBC where
because they're different, where they're private, where they're on different networks from two different companies
Yes.
specifically. It's still under the same. It's two different brands under the same umbrella.
Exactly.
I guess I could see that. I don't know. I think it would be an interesting idea just to like, oh, I can really only watch wrestling like on this particular day or watch it on this particular day. And my champion, the TBS champion, or my champion, the TNT champion, is going to be on this show specifically, and I'm going to watch it. I think like that's an interesting kind of ploy, especially if you're trying to like get younger people to kind of get into it.
The only reason why I don't think they'll do that is because Tony Khan has not insulted our knowledge yet. We know TBS and TNT are owned by Ted Turner. We know that these champions are going to not only be wanting to be built up, but be featured prominently. We're gonna know that. He's not gonna say, "Oh yeah, you know what? We're gonna keep we're gonna keep them on separate islands." I don't think he's gonna do that. I don't think that'd be a good utilization of his resources.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess I could see it in that way. I'm not saying it in a way that's like, oh, like it's insulting our intelligence. It's more like we want people to like wherever the main show is going to be for that specific day, that champion is going to be here and he's going to be defending the belt always on this. I don't know. You might be right that they might like switch it up just like for promos or like, oh, you'll see the TNT one like in the backstage or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like they might have like an interference or something like that to kind of like stir up trouble for the inevitable match that they'll have at either a pay-per-view or a special on Rampage or whatever, or on Dynamite, depending on which one it is. But like specifically naming it after those brand, like that network itself,
Yes.
is interesting because I remember when they brought it up first, I'm like, oh, this is like a TV championship and it's going to be a mid-card title, big whoop. But like every match that's been on has been like, wow, these are crazy good. Especially when like, and I'm showing my, markiness here back when like, when Miro had it and, me loving Miro, also known as Rusev, like having it and just, oh God, this feels like him holding the U.S. belt again, but it feels like way more important than
I was about to say, it felt so different yet so similar.
Yeah, it didn't feel so gimmick because I know like a common complaint is that like, oh, it's super gimmicky and kind of like juvenile back when, he was in WWE doing the whole, oh, I'm like the premier athlete of Russia and, this is, the Russian, trainer that's been, employed personally by Vladimir Putin or some bullshit like that. But I don't know, like there was something cool and unique about it when Rusev was the U.S. U.S. champion. Sorry, mush mouth. And it felt reinvigorated again when he was the TNT one, and I really enjoyed it.
I think he definitely found a good footing as God's favorite champion. And I loved the play. There's several things I loved with the character, but there's so many things I loved with a lot of the characters that have been able to reinvent themselves in AEW. But I'll get into that in a second. But I liked how with Miro, God's favorite champion. You don't really see religion get brought up too much into it, and like being like the closest we've seen is that JBL calling himself a wrestling god, or CM Punk saying that The Rock's arms are just too short to box with God. Miro constantly referencing that he's God's chosen one, he's God's favorite champion, specifically God above him and his wife below him. Like just such. It felt authentic, and that's the key thing. It felt authentic, and especially the Redeemer. He's redeeming himself, which I cannot wait to see where he goes next. But like a lot of other people, and everyone wants to say that AEW is a TNA light, WWE light.
Yeah, they're just harvesting the talents of WWE ex-WWE employees, and it's like, yeah, every wrestling company did that. Like the fact that WWE currently has Mr. TNA, AJ Styles on the on the payroll, kind of says that all itself. It had Mr. Ring of Honor with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. It's the same argument that kind of gets cycled around, and I think as wrestling fans, we should kind of break hold of that because we should enjoy the other shows, including WWE and Impact, but we we got to appreciate what AEW is doing with the talent it's cultivated from other companies, what they're currently doing with Bryan Danielson, what they're doing with CM Punk. CM Punk kind of being like this strange Bret the Hitman Hart kind of figure.
I was about to say CM Punk has become so much more popular now than he was back when he was with WWE, I think, because I think he's reached a new level because he's been gone for so long and he can still put on matches well.
Yeah, he's putting matches on well, and I don't think I'm like harping on like, his athletic ability or his capabilities in the ring. I think it's different because it seems like AEW knows what Punk is capable of doing, and they will just give him whatever he needs to do what he can, and he'll bring on a good show. And that's exactly what WWE should have done, and they never did because they never really, certain people didn't really like him in that way, and didn't want, a 6 foot, whatever, 220 pound, fully tattooed, straight edge dude to be the face of the company. They wanted a 240 pound muscular dude like John Cena or a 243 pound Roman Reigns.
I do think
it's good looking.
I do think it's also a different environment that really gets to showcase what CM Punk can do, like what you said. Not only do they give him the freedom, the whole atmosphere of it feels more geared towards a CM Punk character.
Yeah, because, I think he said this in his documentary, and I keep replaying this in my mind, like WWE is the land of the giants, where, back when his Ring of Honor days, he was like he was a super skinny dude.
Was he a skinny fat ass according to Triple H? Was that the line?
Yeah, I think so. And then he got like chubsy fat when he was in OVW or something like that while trying to get onto the ECW show.
And now he looks fucking...
Yeah, and then he lost a bunch of it doing UFC, and he looked sickly, and now he gained a lot of that back. He looks healthy. He looks great. He looks distinguished with his gray hairs and everything.
Yes.
And he's filling a role specifically that feels like that's appropriate for his age, that if he was doing kind of the same, I want to be the world champion kind of spiel, I don't think it would work. But he's doing I'm going to put these guys over but still win.
Yes.
And put on a good show because I know people want me to win, but I'm not going to make these guys look like complete chumps just because, like, I'm a big star or whatever. Because that was a problem that we had with Triple H, like, back in the day when he was burying people left and right.
I know we talked about CM Punk. I know we talked about Miro. Any homegrown talent you want to talk about that you feel like has really evolved since the first episode of Dynamite? Because I have a guy in mind, but I'd like to ask, because I know we could talk about Brody Lee and how he changed from silent henchman to captivating cult leader. We could talk about Bryan Danielson, who went from vegan catchphrase to now ass-kicking best in the world. We could talk about Ruby Soho, forgotten gem to punk rock star. Malachi Black. We could talk about Andrade, Dustin Rhodes. We could talk about a lot of the reinventions. But I would like to ask you, who do you think has really improved and grew since the inception of AEW? Or you can name multiple people. That's fine. I would like to give some spotlight to the AEW homegrowns.
All right, so I think the one that I think probably has to be number one on the list. I'm like, I'm only sighing because, like, he's just a fucking asshole. And it's our boy, our Long Island boy, MJF.
Your boy. I don't claim him.
My boy, my Long Island boy, MJF, who, my God, we've wanted a character like MJF for a really fucking long time. And we almost had it with the reinvented Miz back when he did the Talking Smack promo on Daniel Bryan. We had that, and for some reason they kind of dialed it down a little bit.
Yes.
And then again, you had it with Impact, with the first incarnation of EC3, who was also great.
Yes.
And then like WWE nerfed him like once he got into NXT and WWE, and kind of misused him, which was a terrible tragedy.
Yes.
But MJF is like, he's the guy. Like, when I think of AEW, one of my first thoughts is MJF, unfortunately. He's the perfect summation of what you want in a heel that you want to see fail all the time. And that's something I want to see where MJF is to fail. And most of the time he doesn't really fail, and that's kind of the brilliance of MJF.
He has had 3 losses since AEW's inception. John Moxley, AEW All Out 2020. So he was undefeated for like a year. You had the Stadium Stampede match, Double or Nothing 2021 against the Inner Circle. Chris Jericho All Out 2021. He's been heavily protected, and and the thing is, he can get. It's very hard for him to break character. And I remember watching this video actually recently where it was at Comic-Con. This little kid was flipping him off, but he was flipping him off incorrectly. And you
What do you mean incorrectly?
I think he was going like this.
Oh, he had the double.
He had one finger up. He's like this, and the guy's like, "No, wrong finger," and he's trying to show him. He's like, "All right, do it again," and then he does it, and he's just like, "What is wrong?" He was. You could see him trying not to laugh because this kid was, and I think here's the biggest attribute to MJF. He stays in kayfabe. Not only is that he's an excellent bad guy in the ring, but also out of the ring and at appearances. I liken him as much as I liken him to Roddy Piper. I also see Undertaker with him, if only because I could see it being a challenge by others to get him to break character.
Okay.
It's a small detail, but I'm like, he commits to it, so that makes it all the better if you could just get him to break character.
Yeah, so I think it just goes down to like that's like the best character. I don't know if that's like specifically gonna change in the near or far future, but like as of right now, he is the best.
Yes.
As much as I personally love Jungle Boy, Jungle Boy is probably my favorite face. That's like naturally homegrown talent besides maybe Darby.
Jungle Boy has definitely improved.
I mean,
leaps and bounds.
I mean, the fact that, I think when he started, I think we really didn't know him. Oh, I think we only know him for his father, RIP to him, because he died, I think, while he was in AEW, I believe.
Right before.
It was right before.
Right before.
He never even got a chance to see him.
He saw him wrestle a couple months beforehand. And I think that was one of the last shows. I actually just listened to a podcast with Jungle Boy where Luke Perry would actually show up to events in a Rey Mysterio mask and a hoodie. So this way people wouldn't recognize him.
Yeah. And like that's kind of part of the reason why he's kind of my favorite. I really don't understand why there are some people that do boo Jungle Boy. I think it's mainly because I've heard some people just don't like Jungle Boy. Like I think it's from a petty reason because of that freaking Ty Conti video, photo.
You mean Anna Jay?
Anna Jay. Was that Anna Jay? Or
that
Ty
was
Conti?
Anna Jay.
That was Anna Jay?
Yeah, they've been together
Anna
for a
Jay,
while.
and that's fucking marks.
He actually
Fucking
mentioned that. He said he got a lot of hate from guys rather than girls.
Yeah, I know. Like, fucking marks. I hate them so much.
But
he's like, unironically, I think he's like the most athletic out of the 4 of them, if we're going to include Sammy Guevara and
Darby.
I think Darby is like the perfect personification of like what we want to see in a 2021 like Jeff Hardy that we're never going to get again, because Jeff Hardy was an era in WWE and we never got the same thing after he left.
It's also amazing because Darby Allin has not really been injured, knock on wood. He's really managed to keep the high spots to a minimum. Like, it kind of exemplifies that New Japan style where it looks like it hurts, but he does it so well that it doesn't.
He does like a really good sell.
Yes.
And I think that's like, he does a really good sell, and I appreciate that he's not destroying his body.
As much as he did.
Yeah. But like, I mean, it just gives me like the same similarities like Jeff Hardy where like when he would destroy his body. Like, I remember, what was it? It was, he got put in the bag. This wasn't like he got put in the bag, and I think Brian Cage like military pressed him off the fucking ring, and I'm like, oh my god, is he like gonna go to the fucking hospital after this? And there's just some gnarly stuff, and I appreciate like Darby like putting his body there, but like also knowing like, okay, like we don't need to destroy his body every time. We gotta learn the mistakes of the people who came before. Not saying Jeff Hardy's
Yes.
gone or anything, but the people who have made their name for themselves, like breaking their bodies and seeing where they would later end up or how they would end up.
There are 3 stars that I would like to talk about, just to throw them at you, because I know we talked about Jungle Boy, Darby, and MJF. We talked about half the picture right now.
Yeah,
And, of course, we could talk about Sammy Guevara all day as the TNT champion.
I think
I'm very excited to see where he goes. Hopefully he
I
splits
definitely
off
wanna
from
see-
Fuego and Jericho.
I definitely want to see more, but I don't know how I feel about Sammy because I enjoyed the Inner Circle. I feel like the Inner Circle is kind of dead now, and
They're loosely associated.
yeah, they're
right
loosely
now.
associated, and I feel like that's like the only downside of Sammy at this point because I feel like he could really take off if he goes on his own.
I think he's at that point. I would love to see a TNT title versus career match, him and Jericho.
Yeah, I feel like
That's
I mean,
I would love that for Double or Nothing. One person we haven't talked about, evolutionary wise, from the very first episodes of Dynamite, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Literally,
you want to talk about groundbreaking women stars? Forget the 4 horsemen and just talk about Britt Baker.
I was about to
she
say
is
excellent.
incredible.
excellent.
In-
Excellent. Excellent.
Well, I think the first time that you and I think saw her in any wrestling thing, I think was the women's cup, wasn't it? The Mae Young Classic. Was that the first thing, or was
I only
it?
watched the first season of the Mae Young Classic.
Yeah, wasn't she in the?
Fuck if I remember. I don't know. The only time I remember her, actually remember her, and her performance was at Double or Nothing. Maybe All In, but like All In, I think that was Chelsea Green, Tessa Blanchard, Madison Wright, and I believe it was Britt Baker. But like I didn't.
Yeah, I think it was Britt Baker. I would have to look it up, but yeah, and I think she, out of all of those ones, I think she's the only one, right?
She's the only one signed with the company. Yeah,
Which is a shame because they should get Chelsea Green because Chelsea Green is fantastic.
Chelsea's doing great on her own freelancing. I'm not sure if she signed with Impact or NWA, but she's doing her thing. Britt Baker, though, her character work has evolved immensely. In my opinion, the most captivating character in AEW.
I think besides AMJF, like I would
Past
say,
MJF.
really, you would really do okay.
I would put Britt Baker above MJF. Not in terms of heel quality, but captivation. I think her matches are better. I think her presentation is
Her
better.
match, I will agree with you on that. Her matches are better. I really what was it? I think it was Thunder Rosa where they were both bleeding, or one of them was
Lights
bleeding.
out match. Yes,
that
that
one
was both of them.
That was crazy good.
When was the last time you had a MJF match, singles match, that you could? The only MJF singles match that I have truly enjoyed was him versus Jungle Boy. The one that I've seen. I have not gotten to see Moxley versus MJF. That was probably the only. That and Cassidy versus Jericho, Mimosa Mayhem. Still got to watch those matches, but I have to say, like, Britt Baker, excellent talent. Ruby Soho, that match was excellent.
Excellent, very good.
And I think her surrounding herself with heaters like Rebel and Jamie Hayter, just literally just building up her stable. So when they get the AEW Women's Tag Titles, I want them. I need them. Inject it in my veins. Inject it. But Britt Baker, bro. You remember? Did you know she was a dentist?
Yeah.
That was the joke. That was a parody, dude. And look now. We all have gone for it. That's excellent character work. Fucking Starbucks with Tony Schiavone. Remember her feud with Big Swole?
Oh yeah, that I was about to say that another fun one that was, oh my god, with that frickin' all over the frickin' abandoned dentist office or
Do you
whatever.
remember how that started? It was a promo at the beginning of 2020 where she comes out, and I think it was something with
It was something about their husbands because
Yes,
Big Swole I think is either dating or is married to Cedric Alexander.
married, and Britt Baker brought that. I was like, oh, you're only famous because you're a boyfriend. And Big Swole goes, Not sure if you noticed, but I got a ring on my finger, baby. And just, I'm like, ah.
Big Swole needs more opportunity to be on the mic.
100%.
More time on television. Cause
Easily can be a cornerstone.
Oh, God, yes.
Support black wrestling.
Please.
Another person I would like to throw a shout out to, Biggest Evolution. Freshly squeezed. Orange Cassidy, my boy.
Okay, so the fact that a character like that Orange Cassidy exists on television, not like in wrestling, in indie wrestling, sure, totally fine.
On primetime television.
On primetime television, Vince McMahon and WWE would fucking have a heart attack. They would not.
The closest they've had was Santino Marella, and it's not even close.
Oh, it's not even close. But oh God. My absolute favorite. I remember the first time I saw Orange Cassidy, and this is before I think he was even in even before I think AEW was like a thing.
Okay.
Because I remember we were talking about indie wrestling at one point, and I brought up Orange Cassidy. And it was the one video against, oh God, I forgot who he was facing, but he was facing some masked dude at an indie show. And the masked dude catches him and puts him in a baby cradle and rocks him to sleep. And Orange Cassidy literally is asleep for the rest of the match. And trying to like pin him, they like quietly like try to body him, and then he rolls over as a kick out. And it's just the evolution from that to being this lax one, and then all of a sudden going ultra instinct on anybody is freaking phenomenal.
I like it because like it's not a concept many people would understand. Okay,
no,
if I'm good, why do I have to try harder unless I need to? And that's such a different concept because most of the time we would see that with heels. That's why they would cheat. But him, he just
like this is
kicks.
like the Orange Cassidy. The character is definitely like a millennial. It's 100% a millennial character. Like there's nobody could have come up with that except for someone like you and me or something like that.
Yes,
and it's brilliant. That's why it's so captivating. Is there anybody else?
There is the biggest one. Hangman Adam Page.
The anticipation is killing because so I think we had talked about this back when we were originally talking about AEW, like way back. And I think I had made the claim that that they should have given the belt to Adam the first time.
Did you go Adam or go Jericho?
I think I
thought we were split on it. I don't know who it was.
I think I definitely went with Adam. I would have to look back, but I'm pretty sure I picked Adam because I think it would have been the boldest choice to pick someone completely new.
I think I also went Adam.
Yeah, and then maybe they went with, and then maybe Joe and Jared because maybe I think they were in the pot.
They were thinking business wise.
And I think
Jericho.
And I think it was the smartest thing to do to put it on Jericho and hold on to Adam. And I think if the pandemic didn't happen, we would have had a world champion Adam Page, and it would have felt rightfully deserved. But now that it's being held back at this point, and it's like we're probably going to see it soon, maybe. I think it'll definitely be worth it. I'm
going to disagree. I don't think we would have gotten it yet. I don't think we would have had it. I think we could have had it at All Out, but I don't think we would have had it during the pandemic.
Maybe, I don't know. I think that's hard to tell because everything really slowed down because what was interesting during the pandemic for that was they split the roster up where like some would go half the time and some would go the other time. No, because they had because not everybody was on the week after week, was there?
Well, they did tapings. So they would come in every other week and do 2 shows.
That's what it was.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
And then you would have someone like Pac or someone like Ryo Mizunami who would come in from Japan and they couldn't be at every show, so they would have to do like 2 episodes and then they would take off for 2 weeks because they had to quarantine at home.
Yeah, which is why we never got the Pac World Championship because that definitely could have happened.
I feel like Pac was groomed more than Page.
Page was definitely a long-term project that was going to have a satisfying ending, no matter what.
100%.
That's definitely what it was.
Agreed.
Pac, I think, definitely was going to be like, yeah, we could definitely fit in another heel one.
Him versus
definitely
Mox.
Yeah, like it would have been incredible. And then we would have had Pac versus Page for the world title at the time. Let's pretend that was the universe that if the pandemic didn't happen.
I will say, Kenny, I think I like how it played out. I definitely enjoyed it because I feel like it's so much more captivating. I think it's much more like.
Oh, bless you. Bless you.
Thank you. I think because look at it this way, he was not shoehorned, but he was like positioned to be the guy. He had all the momentum. He lost to Jericho. Not only that, his friends abandoned him. They didn't go. Then he wins the titles with his friend, and then his other friends try to take it away from him. You know, just such a downward spiral that you really don't see often in current wrestling. And you see this 2-year downward spiral that ends up him slowly gaining his confidence back and then shatters again. You know, like every single time he comes close, he chokes.
Yeah, it's the perfect long-term storytelling that we've been kind of clamoring for a really long time, especially for, you know, a guy that you wouldn't normally think would be world champion material. I remember watching, I think, Adam Page the first time was when I started getting into Ring of Honor again, and this was a post, I think...
Bullet Club, right? Because I know you were telling me about Joey Janela and Hangman Page for a while.
Yes, that's right.
You were telling me about
this was this was post, I think.
This is pre All In at least.
Definitely pre All In. This was actually pre AJ still being in the Bullet Club. That's how far back it was. This was when Kevin Owens.
It
was like late 2015. Yeah, because I remember watching Styles' last match on Ring of Honor being with the Bullet Club because that was with their New Japan tour.
Okay.
I remember and I remember Hangman Page at the time was, you know, just some rinky-dink, I wouldn't say jobber, but he was like some heel guy on Ring of Honor. Yeah, he was super obscure. And then out of nowhere, he was just part of Bullet Club. And it worked. It worked incredibly well. And when we had talked about like them making a company, like the main people for AEW, you know, your Cody Rhodes, your Kenny Omega, your Bucks, and you know, when you said like Bullet Club was gonna be like the wrestling thing, I couldn't really imagine it because there was guys like Bad Luck Fale, there was guys like Adam Page, and it's just it didn't click right away. And then once AEW was like kind of into full gear, we were going to get it. It's like, I see it now. This guy is like ready to be like the new breed of wrestling that we like really needed to like fully put a belt on, and like boom, there it is.
I look at Hangman, and controversial or not, I see AJ Styles. I see a young AJ Styles, if not wrestling ability, but an ability to captivate the audience.
I think that's correct. I think that's the right thing because I
think you attributed him to AJ too when he was going up against Jericho.
Yeah, because I think what's interesting is that if AJ is the Mr. TNA and if John Cena is Mr. WWE, Adam Page, to me at least, is Mr. AEW. He's like the perfect personification of the new talent, the veteran style, because he's been in it a little bit longer than a lot of like the Four Pillars new guys. He is the personification of AEW. Like that's the image that I thought when AEW was going to happen, they were going to put the belt on and just shoot him to the rocket. And I think waiting and making him be champion later in life and then building this incredible story, I think will pay off imaginably well. That's my belief.
You know, and you want to know something about the 6 people we've talked about, or 7, I believe it was 7 people we've talked about. They're all extremely different characters. You look at Hangman, who's leading the charge as this renegade cowboy, doing his stuff and just trying to do his best. You have Jungle Boy, this quiet flash of brilliance, amazing athlete with so much potential. You have MJF, who fastest rising star in professional wrestling today. This loudmouth, braggadocious throwback heel. You have Britt Baker, this flashy, I guess, enamored with herself role model.
It reminds me a lot of Ric Flair in a way.
Yeah.
Not obviously in the toxic ways that we're not going to address at the moment, but like the character. She reminds me a lot of the character that was Ric Flair back in the day.
Yes.
That's what it is.
You see Sammy Guevara, who is probably the most agile human on that, one of the most agile human beings on that roster, and just star-studded look, definitely oozing charisma and stuff, you know, and you can't just help but want to be around that guy. You see Orange Cassidy, who is Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, another character who's just blazing with charisma that like. No, I don't think anybody with the right mind would say that this is not a good character.
Yes.
Just nobody with the right mind would dare say that.
Definitely a character that can only succeed because of this culture today.
Yeah, because of this culture and because of where he is. Yes. I can't see Orange Cassidy being in WWE, even if it was on NXT. I can't.
Can't either. And then you have Darby Allin, who's literally the ultimate daredevil, half dead, skateboarding down the ramp. Like, they're all so different characters. And that's not even any of the other characters we could talk about. Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, the Lucha Brothers, Pac, the Elite, Punk, Bryan, Malachi Black, the Nightmare. There's so many different characters where none feel the same.
Yeah, I think that was a big problem WWE had. There was a lot of sameness with certain characters.
Yes.
And I feel like this is more so with like the women characters than it is men. There were some men who had similar characters, but they were like spaced out between either different shows or different eras. Yes. But unfortunately, they never really blossomed out the women that much until they needed to because they were getting called out on it. And what's impressive is that like there's individuality within this particular company that like every single person there is different. Mm-hmm. And there really isn't a sameness to everybody that's really important.
Okay. No, I get that. Last question that I think it was a great thing to end on, because we've talked about the reinvention of characters, the building blocks, the introduction of these championships, TBS and TNT, the changes in the roster. Look where we're at now. Several weeks straight, or several months of just straight over 1 million demographic. Every week you have.
Yeah, because I think when we started, we were in a ratings war.
Yes.
And I think they only broke 1 million for the first couple of weeks when they started, and now they're consistently doing that. I think on.
They are.
Is it only on Dynamite or?
It's only Dynamite. Rampage was CM Punk's.
Okay.
But you look at Rampage, where they were able to get another 1 hour show with their company. You look at where they're going with the future. They've had 4 pay-per-views which consistently outsell the previous one or the previous iteration. This upcoming year, not only do you have these 4 pay-per-views, you have Rampage on TNT, you have TBS hosting Dynamite, you also have 4 TNT specials a year. What else do you want to see out of them?
I think
here we go. How about this? What's a champion you'd like to see crowned? Who's someone you would like to see signed? And what rivalry do you want to see with 2021?
Okay.
You can even give, and you can also give them a location too. So we'll give 4 and a location, like where you would like to see them. It could be obscure. It could be weird. You know, it could be different, but like a venue.
Okay. So let's go with person I would like to see the most going into it. And it's not really like a particular person. It's really more a thing. And I would really like to see Bullet Club. Okay. And the reason why I would like to see Bullet Club is I feel like it would be a great chapter to end Bullet Club as like, because Bullet Club was like, it was it's even hard to describe what Bullet Club was. Because, like, back in the day, Bullet Club was, like, this, like, it felt like a movement, kind of.
Yeah.
Because it felt like we were getting the best kind of, like, gimmicky wrestling with, like, some of the greatest performers of an entire generation that weren't WWE and that WWE didn't cultivate.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of the brilliance of Bullet Club in the beginning.
Okay.
And it evolved better like as soon as like Balor left for WWE, and you got Styles in, you got the Bucks in, you got Omega in, and once it kind of like ended with like the Elite splitting off from Bullet Club's been like slowly dying, so to speak. Sure, they got like new members, they got Kenta, they got Jay White, and they got Evil. But it hasn't been the same. It hasn't been the same, and I think it's because we never really got a chance to really close that door of why did you leave Bullet Club and why weren't we a part of what you were doing here in AEW? And I think I guess that would be the story that be told.
The rivalry.
The rivalry between the Elite and the Bullet Club, because that's what needs to be told. Bullet Club, I think, is really
it's what started
it's
all
the
this.
foundation. It was like the real unearthed ground that AEW really stands upon.
Okay.
Besides, like, you know, like the gimmicky of like, oh, we want to like do the click and do NWO kind of spiel.
Yeah.
But like Bullet Club was like an NJW specific thing that a bunch of Americans and, you know, non-specific Japanese wrestlers were a part of that cultivated like this group.
This outside, and I think it also spawned more factions.
Yeah, like it revitalized the coolness of what a faction can do and be. And it didn't need to be like, oh, like, you know, TNA had like, oh, X and Y specific faction like Aces and Eights or British Invasion or whatever. Main Event Mafia or something like that. Well, yeah, they were cool too, but like you can't do Main Event Mafia in AEW. You can do everybody. It seems like wants to be Bullet Club.
Yes.
That's what WWE tried to do with Finn Balor and AJ Styles, and when they had the Good Brothers, they tried to reinvent Bullet Club, and it didn't work because they didn't allow them to like fully get into the Bullet Club thing, and that has to. And in order to really do that, you had to really make a faction.
Yes.
Like the closest thing that they've come to WWE specifically was the Nexus.
Yes.
You can make the argument for maybe Straight Edge Society, maybe, but it was Nexus. Nexus was the closest thing they did to like putting a lot of steam into a faction, and then it ultimately collapsed.
Authority.
Because Authority is different. Authority
was a faction.
It was a faction, but it's different. It's not Bullet Club.
Undisputed Era.
Undisputed. Well, yeah.
Or are we talking prior to Bullet Club?
I would say prior to Bullet Club.
Prior to Bullet Club, you had Legacy.
Yeah,
I'd say Legacy.
It had its moments, but like
Legacy, I'd say was the biggest one out of everyone, bigger than Nexus. You know what? Fuck you, the Shield.
All right.
Slightly before,
or it was like right around the same time. But like the Shield was like the brainchild of like
Punk.
We're gonna do well. It wasn't necessarily Punk. He had like an idea of like trying to do another gang thing, and he originally wanted
Chris Hero.
He wanted Chris Hero to be involved, not Roman Reigns.
In all honesty, I agree with their choice. Roman Reigns was a hell of a lot better than Chris Hero.
Sorry, Chris. But yeah, like it brought up those three guys, but it didn't bring up the faction being cool. Like, yeah, you saw like a couple of Shield T-shirts, but that was like on the precipice of them breaking up, really. And then what? Yeah, the Wyatt family, which was cool. Don't get me wrong, especially the initial run where they had it with the Shield. But then once like the Shield was gone, like yeah, Bray I think went on like, you had oh god, who had the most injuries at a like post Shield Wyatt feud?
It was all of them.
Yeah,
they just
like
kept rotating.
It didn't really get revitalized until they brought Braun Strowman in. And even then, when Braun Strowman was initially launched, no one really cared, other than that he was big. And he didn't really get big until he went for his big singles thing, which was awesome. and God, I miss that so much. But losing track of it, there hasn't been like a faction Bullet Club like that since I'm gonna say like DX. Really, like to be honest, I think the Nexus came close, but like once it lost steam with putting John Cena over to destroy the Nexus, and then like half the original members went to SmackDown and became the core, and then
Yes.
like CM Punk became in charge of the Nexus, and though like it was cool what he did, and he brought in like Mason Ryan, which was cool, kept David Otunga, and David Otunga was vastly underrated in my opinion.
Okay.
It wasn't Bullet Club.
Yes.
Bullet Club, like when people think of wrestling outside of WWE, especially like now, I mean before AEW, they were thinking Bullet Club. Bullet Club was the thing to be. And like once the Elite left, no one's been thinking about Bullet Club. Like I'm sorry, like I love Bullet Club and I think it's still a sick gimmick. I think that there is a story to be told between the Elite and the Bullet Club still. That I would very much like to see.
All right. Champion. Who would you like to see crowned champion?
Crowned champion. Ugh.
Yes.
This is tough.
Besides the TBS title, because we're guaranteed a champion with that.
No. I understand that. Oh God. I would unironically, I would like to see Jurassic Express be tag team champions.
Okay.
I think that it's pretty well deserved. But also, if we're gonna go on a tangent for that, I do want to see Jungle Boy win a singles one, either the TNT or the World Champion.
Okay.
Because I feel like he's almost there. It's like super close. It's just he needs to break out in an emotional way talking. And he's almost got it.
He's just very terrified. It's a very scary thing for him. He's gone on record about it, so it's something he's working on.
No, I know. And I feel like
he'd benefit if Marco spoke for him.
Maybe. I don't know.
If only because if he's talking to all the big guys, then next week you get to see like Marco take on I don't know, name a big guy he hasn't gotten absolutely demolished by Doc Gallows. Just see him actually get demolished by Doc Gallows, or just see Marco take on I don't know, Brian Cage. Come on, I want to see the who can throw Marco stunt around the best championship.
Ironically, I think Marco has surprised me the most of enjoying, because like I remember like watching Marco come out the first time and I was like, who the fuck is this little kid? And then you realize like, oh, he's the oldest one out of the three of them.
My father-in-law actually watched this guy's like, are they letting a kid wrestle? And then he's watching him wrestle. It's like, wow, wait a second, you can't beat up the kid. And then he saw him a couple years ago. He's still there. And he's still. Why is no one helping this kid? Oh my!
Unironically, Marco is like the underdog of like
AEW.
Yeah, like I fucking love Marco. It took me a while to really like Marco, but like he's really grown on me.
Yeah.
But unironically, I think Jungle Boy is like on the precipice of being a champion, because we're almost guaranteed Adam Page will be a champion at some point.
Yeah.
We're not really guaranteed at this immediacy that Jungle Boy will. Other than like maybe tag team.
Okay. Someone you'd like to see signed.
Unironically, I would like to see. Oh God, this is tough, man. I don't know. You know, I think just for like, if this happens, like, I think it would literally turn the wrestling world upside down. I would unironically like to see Kevin Steen sign. Unironically, okay. I would like. I don't think it would happen, because I feel like even if like let's say Kevin Steen is like not really totally thrilled, I feel like the check that he would get.
Okay.
The fact that like that he's like guaranteed like a pretty prestige spot on any pay-per-view or any show that he's really on.
Yes.
I feel like that's not a bad situation. It's kind of the same thing with Styles. Like Styles, I feel like is settling into WWE. I don't think, from what I understand, from what I've seen of Styles at least, I don't think Styles wants to leave.
No, he's retiring with WWE.
Yeah, I feel like he's retiring. I don't think Kevin Owens wants to retire quite yet.
Yeah.
And I feel like he would like to go to a company where he would still get paid pretty handsomely and be able to have the time to hang out with his kids, because that was a big thing
Yes.
with leaving Ring of Honor to go to NXT back in the day. I feel like he is. I feel like it's so close. I feel like let's say if Jericho does retire. I'm not thinking off on a tangent. Let's say he retires, and there's an open spot coming in. Having Steen to come in and not be like part of the elite, but be like an anti-elite person with like Kazarian would be pretty sick. And then like from that, a floodgate of like a bunch of WWE people following suit, like Sami Zayn, for instance. I think Sami Zayn returning to his El Generico roots and going to AEW would be pretty beneficial for him. Not to say that he isn't doing well in WWE right now. I'm just saying like that is up there.
Okay.
But I feel like it's mainly Steen. I would mainly enjoy, mainly because that would probably be like, that would be the sign of like, oh, it's kind of open season now for people to like hop on the AEW train. And it would be interesting to see how AEW would kind of handle it, because I feel like Owens would be that linchpin of like, if Owens leaves, like it's kind of a almost guarantee that a bunch of the younger talent, like we would see Cesaro like return to being Claudio and going to AEW if that's the case, or Finn Balor returning to being oh god, what was his name? Prince Devitt.
Okay.
Like that's a possibility, and it would be interesting to say the least. Plus, I feel like a return to Steen kill would be like a good fit for Kevin Owens, to be honest. Like I feel like it's tough, because I feel like Owens wants to be in WWE specifically for money. And I'm not saying that in a selfish way or anything like that. I remember listening to him a lot of the time, like the reason why he didn't sign with Ring of Honor, besides the whole Jim Cornette thing, because fuck that guy. Even not like going to, Impact or going to NJPW or whatever. Like he went for the money. He went because like he can put his family all in Florida.
Yes.
They got a house and he was able to, see his family, and that was like a big thing for him. And I feel like he's cultivated enough money. There's a potential of him not being completely satisfied with AEW at the moment. I mean, WWE at the moment.
Yeah.
Because of how things are going. And, the fact that we don't really know what his contract status is. We really don't know. I would very much still enjoy, because like we'd be able to see him versus CM Punk, which never happened before. We'd be able to see him and Daniel Bryan like really get into it. We'd see him and Darby fucking Allin, and that would be probably the nuttiest thing that we could expect. Even him and Moxley or him and Kingston would be incredible to watch. They would do a proper exploding death match, and I would very much enjoy that. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Okay. And an arena you would like to see AEW go to?
Unironically, I would like them to go to MSG.
Okay.
I feel like MSG, like if they somehow pull that off, I don't think they will. Like that's, like you're more likely to get Kevin Steen, El Generico, and Prince Devitt to go to AEW before they go into MSG. Just because I think the kind of hold that WWE has on it, I know they kind of let, Ring of Honor and New Japan, but they're not going to let the real competition go there.
Yeah.
But like once they do, that would be like the real moment. Like, oh, who the fuck cares about WrestleMania or the Royal Rumble? Like we're going to be caring about Revelation, All Out, Double or Nothing, all of that stuff. And that would be the real turning point in pro wrestling here in America, at least.
Yes.
WWE wouldn't be the standard anymore. It would be AEW. And I mean that completely serious, because we put a lot of weight into certain markets.
Yes.
And getting the most well-known arena in the most well-known and one of the biggest markets in the entire country, national television, people will talk about it. And to watch the AEW banner go up and down, Madison Square Garden would be probably one of the most impressive things. and probably one of Tony Khan's greatest achievements in the entire company.
Okay.
Other than what he said during the first New York show that he did. So,
All right.
what about you?
Arena would be Wembley Stadium.
Oh, in London.
Yeah, I'd love them to go to overseas.
Yeah, you want to see the international audience
I
get some
definitely
love.
want to see that. I would love to see them at
The London
Ryokukurin Hall.
Oh, in
Japan.
In Japan. Yeah, you want to get the international audiences are pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it would be a lot of fun. But if we're gonna stick to states, I saw a report on this, and I would love if they went with it. The Mall of America.
Trying to rekindle the what was it? The WCW golden era.
Well, yeah, because like they've done so many crazy different ones. Like, okay, they had it at a tennis arena. They've had it on a cruise, for God's sake.
I'm not gonna lie, we need to see more cruise ones again. Like I
Well,
know it's tough right now just because of like certain standards with cruising and pandemic control and stuff like that. But
I'm just saying, Jericho's gonna do it again.
Yeah, I feel like if let's say
it's
Jericho
going on at the end of the year, or yeah.
No, if Jericho does retire, I would think the only thing that we should consistently still get is the Jericho Cruise AEW show. That's
100%.
the only thing that we should do, and he should be totally in charge of that for how many other shows a night that he gets to do that.
Yes,
totally would love that.
Signing, I was thinking Kevin Steen, but because you said Kevin Steen, I'm going to change it up. And honestly, I would like it if they got Chelsea Green. I think Chelsea Green would be a great addition. I would have said the Iconics, but they've already signed on to Impact.
Well, I mean, if there's certain rumors to be true, I mean, they might be planning an invasion angle. So
I would very much enjoy that. I think it would be excellent.
And they're not called the Iconics anymore. They're called something else.
The Inspirations. I would love it if the Inspiration teamed up with Tennille Dashwood and start taking Running Amok.
This I like.
I think I'd be very excited about that. Or if AEW got Rush from Ring of Honor, because his contract's supposed to be expiring. So that would be a great. He's a world heavyweight champion over there. Excellent luchador. Excellent signing. If we were going to be talking about rivalry, you brought up Kevin Steen. I want to see the Mount Rushmore take on, I don't know, we can call it the gold, like the elite lovers, we can call it. Where we see the Young Bucks, Cole, and Steen take on the Good Brothers, Omega, and Kota Ibushi.
So you would want the two different sides of the elite to face off at each other. Would that be like an actual rivalry, or that would be, what would that be in your eyes?
I would like that as a rivalry. I would like that as like a thing that would culminate in like a stadium stampede or a War Games. I think that'd be excellent.
Yeah.
Or a Blood and Guts. I guess but singles wise, by All Out, I want Hangman and MJF because we've actually never gotten a one-on-one feud with them. We've gotten cyclically Darby, Sammy, MJF, Sammy, Darby, Jungle Boy, and MJF. Adam Page really hasn't interacted with these four pillars. I want to see that. And title, give me a new TNT champion by the name of Freshly Squeezed Orange Cassidy.
Do you really think that a title would work with Orange Cassidy? Don't get me wrong. It was something I was thinking of, but
I think it would work as a short-term thing. I think it would be a lot of fun.
I think it would be. I feel like we should, because I know you talked about this before. The whatever they're doing on Being the Elite with their version of like the heavy metalweight champion, where they would just do silly kind of thing. I feel like that would be perfect for Orange Cassidy. I don't know about TNT. Not because I don't think that he's not a good talent to have to be capable of winning a belt. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of seriousness that goes into the belt, and I don't know if that fits well with Orange Cassidy.
Maybe that would make him become serious.
Maybe.
I would
just for
definitely,
a month or two or something like that.
Not too long, but I think it would be very good for his character to have that championship. It's not he's gone after championships before. I would love to see him as a champion.
All right.
I would love to see how the stories would progress. But yeah, I'd say that's our 2-year AEW review.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of good things.
Looking forward to the next few years.
Yeah.
And I think this will be our last AEW episode until Full Gear. So keep an eye out for that one, guys. Enjoy the rest of the content we're going to be shoveling into you.
Peace.